Hey, how are you all doing? Oh, not quite. Getting a bit ahead of myself there. Hope everyone is doing okay. Welcome back to the channel. It's been a couple of weeks, and the reason why it's been a couple of weeks is last week we have the Spanish Grand Prix and the internet. For those who've watched my videos, will know that I had no internet for about 5 or 6 days. Pretty much sorted now. We are back up and running. Apparently some thieving little idiots tried to steal the copper from the phone lines from the exchange in my area, and that basically caused an outage. So we are live now here on the F1 Fan Zone. I'm going to be opening up the lines this evening, and we're going to be debating, and it's been a hot topic that I've been debating on Twitter. We are going to debate team orders. We're going to debate whether or not they are right. Are they wrong? Are they good for certain times? Are they bad for certain times? I want to know what your thoughts are. It's the F1 Fan Zone. We're back. Right. Well, there are three topics in particular I want to discuss tonight. And of course, we can discuss what you want to talk about when the lines open in about 15, 20 minutes' time or so. But I want to discuss, there's three things we want to discuss. Firstly, obviously, it's Monaco Grand Prix weekend, the glorified formation lap, as I commonly call it these days. Maybe this year might be different, but certainly the last few years it's all about the glitz and the glamour and the parade, and not necessarily about the racing. Who knows? Might be different this year. But we'll have a quick look at the results from free practice 1 and free practice 2. So that is the first topic. There we go, the Monaco Grand Prix. The second topic I want to talk about is Daniel Ricciardo. Daniel Ricciardo, is he under pressure? Now, for those who perhaps have been following the news recently, Zach Brown recently done an interview where he said that Daniel Ricciardo is currently not meeting expectations of McLaren, the very high expectations, as we know, especially when you consider how well Lando has done. Lando Norris has done in that McLaren car, and Ricciardo, not only has he been continuously outperformed by Lando, but by quite some distance. It's not even close, really. So that's another thing we are going to talk about, and we are also going to open up the lines for the debate on team orders, right or wrong. Now, this follows on from last week with Perez and Verstappen, who finished 1 and 2 in the race, but clearly Perez was running perhaps a bit quicker. I think without the team orders, I think it's widely thought that perhaps Perez would have gone on to win the race. So I want to know whether team orders are, one, are they right or wrong, and two, are they good for certain times of the race or certain races, certain situations? I want to know what people's thoughts are. My personal thoughts, and we'll go into this, but my personal thoughts are there's a time and a place for team orders. What happened in Spain, in my opinion, was not the time or place. That's my opinion on that. But first, let's bring up let's have a look at the Monaco Grand Prix practice results. Right, so these are the results for first practice and we'll do first practice and second practice. But first practice, Charles Leclerc in the Ferrari. Now, Leclerc hasn't got the best records, has to be said, at Monaco. Around the tight streets, he only actually had an accident in there driving one of Ferrari's historic cars just a few weeks ago, in fact. So not the best records by all accounts. Sergio Perez out qualifying Verstappen. There we are talking about whether or not, in terms of team orders with these two, Sergio Perez out qualifying, well, not out qualifying, but outperforming in practice at least. Max Verstappen 114 and 0.5 the lead time. We scroll further down, Mercedes, who had a real step forwards last week in Spain, appeared to have taken a step backwards again. Lot of bouncing around, and they, as you can see there, in the Mercedes, Lewis Hamilton in 10th, George Russell in 8th. George Russell, though, again, outperforming Lewis Hamilton. It's only practice, I know, but worth noting. And as we go down the timesheets, pretty much what we expected there. Bottas didn't have a great session in the Alfa Romeo. Mick Schumacher and Haas didn't have a great time either, just 12 laps, 4.1 seconds, although they did have a better FP2. We'll come to that in a minute. But all the usual suspects are pretty much where they are, certainly on the back end of the grid. Front end of the grid's very tight there. Look at that. Half a second separated. Well, just 1/10. Well, just under 2 tenths separating the four top drivers, the two top cars, which is the Red Bull and the Ferrari. Free practice 2. And the times dropped quite a lot in free practice 2. 1:12.6, 2 seconds near enough quicker in FP2 than it was in FP1. I'm expecting qualifying, providing we have a good weather for qualifying. There's debate, I think, about the weather this weekend. But if we have a good qualifying, I expect that 1:12 to go down to into the 1:11s possibly. But 1:12, Carlos Sainz in the Ferrari, and then it's a bit of a drop back to Perez, who again was in front of Verstappen. Verstappen nearly half a second slower, 1:13.1. Neither of the Red Bulls managed to break the 1:13 or 1:12 barrier. So that again is practice, but certainly on the face of it, it looks perhaps that Ferrari have the slight edge here. Certainly that's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing Ferrari have the slight edge. Again, Lando Norris back it up in 5th, where he was in FP1. Again, 6 tenths off the pace. It was 4 tenths in FP1. So the McLaren appearing to be okay here. Now, the thing is with Monaco in particular, outright speed isn't necessarily what will give you a quick time here. It's more about handling of the car. If your car handles well, here is where you get good results as a result of that. If your car is handling well, and certainly for McLaren, certainly Lando's case, having a better time of it than certainly Ricciardo, who at the bottom of the timesheets, 2 laps untimed. Just what Ricciardo needs when he's under a lot of pressure is to not be able to get out in free FP2. So we'll come on to that in a second, actually. In fact, let's come onto it now. In fact, let's change I'm all over the place. See, look, I'm so out of practice. Let's come out of there and let's go to Daniel Ricciardo. Is Daniel Ricciardo under pressure? Now, Zach Brown gave an interview last week where he said, let's bring that up. Daniel Ricciardo, McLaren CEO Zach Brown says driver not meeting team's expectations. And that is, and certainly McLaren have been pretty, for the last year or so, it's been pretty obvious for the last year that that Lando has continuously outqualified and outperformed Daniel Ricciardo. But we all know Lando Norris is one of the best young drivers in the sport at the moment. Real hot property. So, okay, that's not the end of the world, in my opinion. If Lando is continuously out qualifying Daniel Ricciardo is up against a very young, talented, good teammate. However, I think what in particular will be concerning to Daniel Ricciardo and McLaren in particular is just how far he's off the pace. And there is pressure there. There is pressure for Daniel Ricciardo, and we move into sort of silly contract season about 6 to 8 weeks. And so you look at the thing, and you've got Daniel Ricciardo, in my opinion, it's got until the summer break in August to decide whether or not, or not to decide, but to show McLaren whether or not he is the right man as they try to progress back up. McLaren have obviously got aims to try and get back into winning races. They've got the new wind tunnel being built. They're increasing, they've recently entered into the Formula E series. They're increasing their brand with Indy racing and so on. And obviously they've got real aspirations to go on and back to where they believe they belong, at the top of motorsport, at the top of Grand Prix and F1. So keep an eye on that. Daniel Ricciardo is one to keep an eye on over the next few weeks. Perhaps Zach Brown's public mentioning of the fact that Ricciardo is underperforming might be enough to apply some pressure, if you like. Now, let's get on to team orders, and we will open up the lines. In fact, why don't we do that now? Let's get a link up there. What do we need? Blah, 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 blah. Okay, we need that. Copy. And we're going to put, and this is only, by the way, you'll only see the link if you are following. So I'm currently live on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube, and on Twitch. If you're on Facebook, YouTube, or Twitch, you will see a link. That link, by clicking on that link, will bring you into the background studio where I can bring you on stream to have your say. So the lines are now there. You can click on the link. It will bring you through, and I'm going to bring on as many people as I can throughout the next half hour, 45 minutes or so. And you can come and have your say if you wish to do so. Now, team orders. Let's go back to here. Team orders, right or wrong. This follows on from what happened last week in Spain, where Daniel Ricciardo, we're talking about Daniel Ricciardo, where Sergio Perez and Max Verstappen were behind George Russell, and Max Verstappen had many laps to try to pass George Russell, was struggling to do so. He was struggling to do so, I think, because George Russell done an excellent defensive job, but also Max Verstappen had technical issues with the DRS. Some laps it was opening, some it wasn't, and Sergio Perez was running much faster. It was on a fresher set of tires, was running much faster, and the inevitable happened, which is Sergio Perez caught up behind Max Verstappen and had an opportunity to pass both Max Verstappen and George Russell. So Sergio Perez asked, and he sent a message to the team saying, why not let me see if I can get past? Why not let me have an opportunity? I think I can get past George Russell. And so in a situation like that, you would normally expect the team to say, okay, Max, could you move out of the way? Certainly any other team would say, and allow Perez to have a little go, because Perez is on fresher tyres and so on. However, they didn't do that. What did they do? They pitted Sergio Perez, brought him out and set on fresher tyres. That caused George Russell to have to pit to cover, clearing the way for Max Verstappen to go on and essentially win the race in the end. And it brought up a lot of questions about whether or not that was right. Was Sergio Perez treated fairly? Now, here is my view on that, whether or not he's treated fairly. I think it has to be said, and it has to be noted, in my opinion, it has to be noted, when Sergio Perez signed for Red Bull, did he honestly believe he was signing to be an equal teammate to challenge Max Verstappen for titles? Did he honestly believe that was what he was fighting for? That was what he was signing for? I can't believe that for 1 minute. I think anyone and everyone knew that whoever went to Red Bull, you're going to be number 2, and your job there is very simple, very clear, and that is to support Max Verstappen how best you can. Now, Sergio Perez is learning the hard way that is what you are there for, whether you like it or not. Whether you like it or not, that is what you are there for, rightly or wrongly. There are certain situations where I think team orders is justified. For example, now bearing in mind at 1-2, when they did pass, when both Red Bulls got past George Russell, they're running 1 and 2, and they could have switched them around and whatnot any which way, any time, and so on, and it wouldn't have been an issue. And I'm not necessarily in favour of switching or team orders there. I think the minute the minute Sergio Perez was behind Max Verstappen in the fight for first, I think it should have been, you know, it should have been, a fair cop. It's all play for. Just don't crash. If you look like you're going to crash, we're going to call orders. Perfectly fine, but they wouldn't allow it. They simply told Sergio Perez, look, back off, so to speak. So I don't agree with team orders when team orders are not going to alter the level of points that a team gets. Where I do agree with team orders would be, let's say, as they were in Spain, you're running 2 and 3, P2 and P3. Your P3 driver is faster than the leader, and your P2 driver is struggling to get past that leader. I don't see a problem with team orders to swap them around and give the other driver an opportunity and say, look, well, he's had a try, but you have a try, but we'll give you a few laps. And if you can't try, we'll swap you back round again. I have absolutely no issues with that whatsoever, in my opinion. So where I had an issue was when they had an opportunity where Perez was clearly quicker. Perez has got an opportunity to win a race, which he hasn't had many wins, to be honest, because of team orders, unfortunately. And he wasn't allowed to pass. He wasn't allowed, if it was the other way round. And this is the question here. If Sergio Perez was one behind George Russell and Max Verstappen was struggling, was behind Sergio Perez, and Perez was struggling to get past George Russell, and Max Verstappen says, team, Sergio's had a go at it, stand him down, let me have a go. Do you honestly think that the team would have said, no, we're going to pit you. We're going to put you onto a different strategy. We're going to pit you and force George Russell into pit? Absolutely no chance whatsoever. Absolutely no chance. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is why Sergio Perez is and will always be a supporting number 2 driver. He is not there to win races. He is there to help Max Verstappen win races. The only way Sergio Perez wins races is when Max Verstappen can't win that race because the car's had a failure, he's had an accident, whatever the incident may be. If Max Verstappen can't win the race, literally physically win the race, then Sergio Perez will be given that opportunity. And that is it. That's the only time, which isn't very often, let's be honest. And for me, that's a big issue. But I'd like to know what people's thoughts are on that. And it's a very tough. It's a tough subject. I get. There's lots of debate. I've had lots of debates from Twitter regarding this. My links for Twitter, by the way, are in the description, along with Facebook. For those who are watching on Facebook, you can add my Twitter and YouTube are in the description. For those who are watching on YouTube, my Facebook and my Twitter are in the description. Twitch is also in the description as well. Feel free to check out the channels. We are live on all those channels. Now, I will be live on race day as well for a timing session, for a live watch along. Unfortunately, due to copyright and all that malarkey, I won't be able to obviously stream the race itself, unfortunately, but I will be streaming live timing, and the live timings are actually ahead of the race, the TV, so I can see what happens on the time screens before I can see what happens on the race. But I will talk you through the race because I'll have the race live on as well, and they are a good opportunity to have your say on those channels too. But like I said, right or wrong, team orders. Again, my opinion is there's a time and a place for team orders. When your driver's 1 and 2 and your second driver is quicker than your first driver, For me, that's not the time for team orders, in my opinion. But of course, it's not the only time we get team orders. Obviously, Mercedes were common for it under Hamilton and Bottas. I tell what something though, and this is something that has been overlooked. This was overlooked actually, with in terms of the team orders with how they pitted Perez. And that is they were able to pit Perez when they did because there was a big gap to the next driver, because Lewis Hamilton had these shenanigans, if you like, with Kevin Magnussen at the start of the race, and that left him getting a very respectable P5 in the end. And Carlos Sainz also, because he had an incident earlier in the race where he had a spin off. So without Carlos Sainz and without Lewis Hamilton being where they should be, had they have been closer to the front as they should have been, they can't pit. Red Bull can't pit Perez. It would be interesting next time we get to a situation where Perez is faster than Verstappen and Verstappen struggling to overtake, and they can't pit Perez because next time they may not be able to pit because they could lose track position. It'll be interesting to see whether they give team orders then, in my opinion. It'll be interesting. It will be interesting. But yeah, anyway, I'd like to have your say. Feel free to click the link. Feel free to come on and have your say. Have this debate. Right or wrong, team orders. We'll be right back after this. So the question is, like I said, with team orders, right or wrong? I want your say. I want you to come and have your say. Should team orders exist? Should they be banned? Now, remember, for many years, they were actually banned team orders. It wasn't until the controversy with Fernando Alonso and Felipe Massa. If you can remember the whole message to Felipe Massa, Alonso is faster than you. Can you confirm? As Rob Smedley gave out the devastating news to Massa that no driver wants to hear, which is get the out of the way, which was that, well, in a more subtle, politely way than that, obviously. But yeah, team orders, right or wrong? I would like to know. I will be, like I said, live on stream on Sunday. We may do a live stream tomorrow evening. I am out during the day, so it's difficult to stream for the qualifying because normally qualifying on a Saturday. Saturdays are normally a busy day for me, family day and all that. But on a Sunday, I will be live for that as well. And don't forget, we are live on Facebook, we are live on Twitch, we are live on YouTube, we are live on Twitter. And I would like to know, team orders, right or wrong? We have got a poll running actually on Twitter as well. If you follow the link to the Twitter in the description, we do have a live poll there. Team orders, right or wrong? In the chat, there is links to the studio. You can come on and have your say. If you wish to do so, we are going to be live for another 5 or 10 minutes. See for those who want to come and have their say. Team orders, right or wrong? Should team orders exist? If they should exist, are you free? Are you saying, you know what, team orders should exist in any which way the teams feel comfortable with? Are there times when you are, as a fan, as a racing fan, are there times when you would accept, or they're more acceptable than other times? Should they be used in certain situations? It's a tough one. I know I've had a very wild debate on Twitter today about it with a few people who I think if you're a Max Verstappen fan, you're all full team orders. If you're a Sergio Perez fan, if you're a Max Verstappen fan, you are for team orders. If you're a Sergio Perez fan, you're not. Because Sergio Perez, and actually, lo and behold, I don't know why I'm talking like this. Lo and behold, we have the debate about whether or not it was right for team orders with Sergio Perez and Max Verstappen. Sergio Perez has finished ahead of Max Verstappen in both practice sessions today. Now, I know practice sessions. We need to wait and see what happens in the qualifying and the race, obviously. Track position is obviously very key for Monaco. So, but it'll be interesting to see there whether or not come Sunday, if Perez keeps up that form and out qualifies Max Verstappen, what did the team do come Sunday? Especially given the clear the air talks that they've allegedly had. Allegedly clear the air talks. So it'll be interesting. I'm looking forward to seeing how that works. We'll have to see. Right, we'll give it 3 more minutes to see if anyone else wants to come on and have their say. The links, if you are on Facebook, if you are on YouTube, if you are on Twitch, the links are in the description, in the chat. They're not in the chat, they're in the chat. Right now, I'll post it again. Come on, have your say. Because this is what this channel is for. This is a fan channel. This is a live phone-in show, essentially. It's a call-in show for people to come and have their say on all things F1. It's a small channel, granted. I know you've got to start somewhere. You've got to start somewhere, and I want to grow this channel into a fan channel. Not quite as successful yet as my other channel that I had, but still we're getting there. We are getting there. We are moving up in the post. Oh, and if you haven't, by the way, I've done some go-karting at Teamworks Go-Karting in Letchworth Garden City. Check out the YouTube channel for that. I've done a vlog. First time visiting Letchworth. Or the first time visiting Letchworth karting, should I say. I've been to Letchworth many times, but not for go-karting. And I've got a couple of other go-karting trips booked as well, for vlogs. And yeah, it should be interesting. I enjoyed Letchworth karting. Thanks very much for Teamworks for putting me up there for some unlimited karting. But there we go. I think on that note, I am going to call it a night. It will be an interesting Grand Prix this weekend. I'm not expecting too much in the way of action because it is the tight streets of Monaco. It's not the best place for wheel-to-wheel racing, let's be honest. But you never know. So until tomorrow evening, well, I'll do a stream tomorrow evening for reaction to the qualifying. Until then, take care, and I'll see you all again soon.